Hey, you, I don't like your girlfriend. Hey, come here often. It's been like 3 months since I've uploaded a video. Let's start with an intro. Hey, if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're not new, then welcome back. I do have an intro. I forgot it last video. As you can see, I've moved. This is gonna be the last time my location changes, but it's not gonna be the last time that this background changes. I've got the theme of our video in the background, so I'm very excited for that, but I'm hoping to add more decorations. I'm gonna add more books to the shelf. There are decorations right there, but my chair kind of covers it. You know, as if I didn't spend so much time yesterday putting it up. It's fine. Regarding what's next, I'm gonna do Wicked and I'm gonna do Beetlejuice. I'm very excited. However, I don't want to limit myself to musical theater. I'm planning a My Little Pony video. I also really love discussing musicals, but I enjoy reading. I'm very active on Book Talk. Oh, I gotta share with you guys what I'm reading right now. Hold on. My credentials. I have a Kobo. Currently, I am reading Go Hex Yourself. The sequel is What the Hex? And then I have Mate by Ali Hazelwood literally coming in tomorrow. So I'm very excited to read those. I would love to talk books. I also love movies and TV shows. When I first started doing YouTube, I did reviews on movies and TV shows, but a lot of those videos are unlisted now just because they're old, but I would love to revisit them. I have video ideas about Addams Family, WALL-E, Great Gatsby, Despicable Me, American Psycho, Monster High, Ever After High, and so many musicals. So if you want to hear those or more, leave a comment below. It's been amazing to engage with you guys, and it's been great to build a community, and I'm so excited to go back into it. Can you tell I've had caffeine? Yeah. Anyways. While I'm a little late initially, when I started working on the script, there was a rise of TikTokers like Ashby, who started the Hamilton trend with Best of Wives and Best of Women. Still, the idea to do a Hamilton analysis came from a comment on my Epic video. I'm gonna put them right here. Shout out to that commenter. Hamilton has been around for a decade now, and trying to think of a way to analyze it in a way that feels unique is definitely a challenge. There are numerous videos on Hamilton and its analysis, and even Lin-Manuel Miranda is very open about the lyrics and what the story means and what it means to him. So I wasn't sure if there was anything new that I could add. So I took a step back from thinking about Lin-Manuel Miranda, the trends, and how much I've enjoyed this musical over the past couple years, and I just watched and listened to it. I wanted to focus on what stood out to me when I first listened to the musical years and years ago. And for me, it comes down to three things: legacy, politics, and relationships. Specifically, the relationships of women in Hamilton. So today, we're going to be discussing those three themes one by one in Hamilton and how Hamilton utilizes them to craft a narrative about ambition, identity, and the lasting impact that we leave behind. If you've not seen Hamilton, please do so, because we're going to go into full spoilers, but I'm not going to do a plot summary. And very likely I won't for Wicked as well. I might for Beetlejuice, just because Beetlejuice, the musical, differs so much differently from the Beetlejuice films and show. If you like the plot summary in Sweeney Todd and you want me to do it anyways, let me know and I can do it for the Wicked video and for the Beetlejuice video. I love giving a Tiara version plot summary of the musicals in like my terms. But for now, let's just get started in the analysis. The uncontrollable narrative of legacy. Legacy. What is a legacy? Okay, this also is not in the script. I love when we go off script. One of my least favorite parts of Hamilton is when he's slam poetry rapping about legacy. Legacy. What is a legacy? Too white for the blacks, too black for the whites. That's what it sounds like to me. In Hamilton, legacy isn't a historical result. It's a dangerous obsession. The musical's core argument is that constantly, desperately trying to control your own narrative is a fundamentally self-destructive act. The show uses its main character, Alexander Hamilton, to prove that a legacy isn't what you build for yourself. It's what gets shaped without your control by your identity, your worst failings, and in the end, by the love of the people who survived to tell your story. Hamilton's entire life, as the musical presents it, is a tragic case study. He's a man so obsessed with writing his way into history that he sacrifices the very relationships that should have defined him, only to have his story rescued by the one person he pushed aside: his wife. From the very first lines, the musical makes it clear that Hamilton's ambition comes directly from who he is. It's a deep psychological need to escape where he came from. When the ensemble asked, how did a bastard orphan son of a whore, they immediately set up Hamilton's whole life as something history is going to judge. His entire drive is just him pushing back against the idea that he's nobody. His anthem, My Shot, isn't just a simple I want song. It's a powerful statement of a desperate, almost obsessive psychological need to leave his past behind and create his own legacy. His nonstop energy, captured in the line "For the first time I'm thinking past tomorrow," shows he's constantly aware that life is short, and that awareness drives his desperate need to be remembered. This huge ambition is immediately set against Aaron Burr's careful philosophy of talk less, smile more. This sets up the main conflict of the show, not about what they want, but how they go about it trying to build a life that matters. Hamilton's raw ambition gets its first real reality check when he meets George Washington. This mentorship is crucial because it introduces Hamilton to a heavy weight of what other people think. Hamilton is just thinking about glory and building his name from nothing, but Washington, who is already a legend, can only see the consequences of every action. When Washington tells him, "Dying is easy, young man, living is harder," he's completely reframing legacy. He's telling Hamilton that a legacy isn't one heroic moment of dying in a battle. It's the long, difficult, grinding work of building something that will last. This whole idea gets crystallized and history has its eyes on you, which is the moment Hamilton's internal drive gets a terrifying new layer. It's not just about being remembered, it's about being judged by everyone, forever. He takes this lesson to heart, and you can see the change by the Battle of Yorktown. When he and Lafayette yell, "Immigrants, we get the job done," it's not just a cheer. It's Hamilton consciously writing himself and his friends into the official story. He's no longer just fighting for the cause. He's fighting for his new, permanent, historical reputation. The real tragedy of Hamilton is that he's completely blind to how much his personal life is tied into the legacy he's so desperate for. He truly believes he can keep his political story and his personal life separate, and this delusion is what ultimately ruins him. In Take a Break, Eliza and Angelica offer him a totally different idea of what a legacy can be, one built on family, love, and just being present in the moment. But by sending them away, Hamilton makes a clear choice. His political work is everything, and his family's just getting in the way. Hamilton! You know that I do in trench Hamilton. Gonna fight for your land back. I need my right hand band back. I need my right hand band back. But right hand, Alexander Hamilton. Troops are waiting in the field for you. Never back down and never to take your time. Oh, Alexander Hamilton. I have shoulders that will yield for you. I said shoulders. I have shoulders that will yield for you. Take your time. Okay, let me stop. This terrible mistake blows up in his face during the Reynolds pamphlet. In a panic to save his political standing, Hamilton completely destroys his personal reputation by writing a detailed confession. Hurricane shows his flawed thinking behind this. He genuinely believes he can control the damage and write his way out of a scandal. Instead, he just hands his enemies all the ammunition they need to destroy him, forever merging his public wins with his private screw-ups. This act of self-sabotage is powerfully contrasted with Burr's song, the Dear Theodosia Reprise, who, in a moment of pure grief, understands his true legacy is the love and protection he offers his daughter, a human connection Hamilton willfully torches. The show saves its most brutal lesson for last. You can't control the consequences of your actions, and worse, you can often pass them down to your kids. Hamilton's obsession with his honor, the code that he used to build his entire reputation, becomes a deadly inheritance for his son. In Blow Us All Away, Philip is basically a direct copy of his father. He's stepping into a duel, using his father's exact playbook to defend a reputation that isn't even his. And the horrifying result in Stay Alive Reprise is the exact moment Hamilton's abstract rules about honor stop being an idea and become a real, unbearable loss. This isn't a political debate anymore. It's his son dying. His obsession with legacy didn't secure his family's future. It literally ended his bloodline. And even after that, you see in the duel with Burr that Hamilton is just trapped. He can't escape his own programming. His final realization, just as he's dying, is that he got it all wrong. He's thinking about his one thing, and it's not his bank or his legacy, it's Eliza. It's this massive shift from public ambition to personal love, but it happens seconds before he dies. The musical gives a definitive and deeply ironic answer to its own central question about legacy. The one man who spent his entire life obsessing over his narrative has absolutely no say in how it ends. The finale, Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Her Story, makes it clear that a legacy isn't an act of ambition at all. It's an act of survival, an act of carefully gathering the pieces, and ultimately an act of love. Eliza, the very woman he neglected, is the one who puts herself back into the narrative. She's the one who saves his story from being forgotten. She builds his living legacy by founding the first private orphanage. She preserves his written legacy by collecting all of the things he's written, and she ensures the whole story is told. After Hamilton's frantic, lifelong sprint to be remembered, it is Eliza who gets to decide how he is remembered, and in the process, she builds a powerful, lasting legacy of her own. I am the one thing in life I can control. Why political neutrality fails. The show makes it crystal clear that getting involved in politics isn't really a choice. It's the only way that matters. It's messy, it's dangerous, but it's presented as the only path to building a legacy and having any real power. Aaron Burr is a living example of the opposite. He believes that staying neutral, waiting to see which way the wind blows, is the smart way of protecting himself. But the musical constantly argues that this is a huge mistake. Ultimately, his strategy to wait for it ends up being far more destructive to him than Hamilton's strategy to jump right in. The entire rivalry between them is built to show us that in a country being built from scratch, refusing to plant your flag and pick a side isn't just a weak move, it's fatal. From the moment Aaron Burr steps on stage, his entire political identity is built around a plan of carefully doing nothing. His advice in Aaron Burr, Sir, to talk less, smile more, isn't just a passing comment. It's a complete strategy based on survival. We immediately see how different this is from Hamilton. Hamilton is an orphan with no name, so he has to talk and write nonstop just to create an identity. Burr, however, already has a good family name, and he sees his main job as protecting it by being extremely cautious. Hamilton immediately pokes a hole in his plan when he asks him, "If you stand for nothing, Burr, what will you fall for?" This one line is the key question for his entire character, and it warns us that his safe approach will eventually leave him with no real beliefs. And wait for it, he tries to convince us and himself that holding back isn't weakness, it's a powerful form of control. His core belief, "I am the one thing in life I can control," is his attempt to build a legacy based on his own self-discipline. He looks at Hamilton as a reckless kid who has nothing to lose, while Burr believes his main purpose is to protect the status he was born with. Burr's cautious plan is the total opposite of the way Hamilton and the others handle politics. For them, politics is loud, it's a public show, and it's always personal. The musical makes it clear that these debates aren't boring talks about policy. They are high-stakes performances for the heart and soul of the new country. The Cabinet Battle 1 shows this perfectly. Making it a rap battle not only makes the musical unique, but also tells you right away that politics is about winning the argument and controlling the story, not just about being right. Hamilton is the best example of this. He truly cannot separate his personal ego from his political ideas. He believes his financial plan is him and his words are legacy. This kind of public combative fighting is exactly what Burr wants to avoid. Interestingly, even King George III, who is all the way back across the ocean, is putting on a political performance in You'll Be Back. He uses the language of a controlling lover to send a clear message about power. His strategy is also about inaction, controlling things from a distance. But unlike Burr, his inaction is backed by the entire British Empire, which just makes Burr's wait for it position seem completely hollow. Fun facts, when I first got into Hamilton, the only song that I really liked before I listened to the full musical was You'll Be Back. Great song. Also, I love Jonathan Groff, especially in Frozen. I make you swoon, baby. I hated Frozen 2, though. I'll do a video on it if y'all want me to. I hated it, though. Maybe before the third one comes out. The musical argues that the biggest price Burr pays for his neutrality is just being left out. This is the entire point of the room where it happens. Burr, who's always been on the sidelines, has this terrifying realization. History isn't made in public debates. It's made in private rooms by people willing to fight for their ideas. Some of my favorite lines from that, again, we're going off script, is where he says, oh gosh, what's the line that always hits hard for me? We don't get a say. Give me them lyrics, Google. This one. We want our leaders to save the day, but we don't get a say in what they trade away. We dream of a brand new start, but we dream in the dark for the most part. It's very aligning with how modern politics are, how we want our leaders to do these things, but we don't get a say in what they choose at the end of the day. Ironic, since we are still in a government shutdown. Hamilton's verse in this song, when you got skin in the game, you stay in the game, but you don't get a win unless you play in the game. You get love for it, you get hate for it, but you get nothing if you wait for it. It's so devastating to Burr because it shows him exactly how his peers see him. They don't think he's strategic, they think he just doesn't care. This is the moment Burr's entire philosophy shatters. He's driven by a new intense fear of being erased from the story, so he drops his wait for it strategy and finally takes aggressive action. However, in Schuyler Defeated, he makes his first big move, but it's not based on any political belief. He targets Hamilton's family directly by taking the Schuyler Senate seat. It's a purely personal and strategic attack designed to do one thing, force his way into the room. In doing this, he finally starts to build his own legacy, but he builds it as Hamilton's number one enemy. Ultimately, Burr's decision to finally make a move is a disaster, because it isn't driven by any real beliefs. His whole political philosophy disintegrates during the election of 1800. The musical is very intentional about this. It shows him as a total political blank. Hamilton and Jefferson get entire songs and cabinet battles to argue for what they want for the country. Burr, his ambition is just for access. He doesn't have a vision, he just wants the title. When Hamilton delivers that absolutely brutal line, Jefferson has beliefs, Burr has none, it's not just a political jab at him. It's Hamilton publicly exposing Burr's core emptiness. Burr has waited so long to pick a side that he's now left with nothing to stand for. For a man so obsessed with his legacy, this is a fate worse than losing. That existential panic, the terror of being remembered for nothing, is the true trigger for the deal. His challenge is just a desperate final attempt to take control of his own story, a story that has, until now, been defined only by what he doesn't believe in. The final confrontation shows the tragic, complete failure of Burr's entire life plan. "Your obedient servant" is so chilling because it isn't just a hot, passionate argument. It's a cold, formal procedure. They're using that incredibly polite language to mask the fact that they are negotiating a duel to the death. Burr is consciously building a paper trail, trying to create a public case that he had to defend his honor. But then, in The World Was Wide Enough, it lays the horrific irony bare. By killing Hamilton, Burr doesn't reclaim his story. He seals Hamilton's legacy as a martyr and makes himself forever the villain in your history. Hamilton's final act of throwing away his shot is a moment of release. He's accepting that his story is not for other people to tell. Burr, in his final desperate attempt to control Zola's story through an act of violence, only succeeds in making himself a footnote in his rivals. The musical's powerful conclusion is that in the chaotic, passionate work of building a nation, political neutrality is a death sentence. A legacy, it argues, simply cannot be built from an empty void. How relationships define legacy. In Hamilton, relationships are never a safe escape from the political world. They're just another part of it. A battlefield full of strategy, sacrifice, and survival. The musical uses the Schuyler sisters and Maria Reynolds to show that while Hamilton sees relationships as tools to help build his legacy, he completely fails to value them for their own sake. This failure becomes his greatest vulnerability. His entire story is a cautionary tale, proving that a legacy built by sacrificing human connection is incredibly fragile. In the end, his legacy is only salvaged by the profound strength and deliberate choices of the very woman he wronged. The musical shows us right away that relationships, especially marriage, are a form of political and social currency. In A Winter's Ball, all the men talk about the Schuyler sisters not as people, but as strategic prizes to be won, as gateways to wealth and status. The whole song reminds you of the gender rules at the time. Women are how men get more power. But the Schuyler sisters immediately pushes back on that. Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy are not just waiting to be claimed. They have their own ideas and a deeper hunger to be part of this huge historical moment. Angelica, in particular, directly challenges this system with her intelligence. She immediately clocks Hamilton as her intellectual equal, but she's trapped by her duty to marry for status. Her heartbreaking Toast and Satisfied isn't really just a love song. It's a song about sacrifice. It's her consciously choosing to secure other people's legacies instead of her own. She understands the rules of the game so well that she knows she can't win. So she makes a strategic move to secure her sister's happiness and at the same time help Hamilton's rise. The main relationship between Hamilton and Eliza is the key to understanding the show's criticism of raw ambition. In Helpless and in the cut song This One's Mine that eventually became Helpless, we get Eliza's point of view, which is all about pure, simple love. She's also very smart on her own. She calls herself a wallflower, which shows that she knows she's the kind of person who gets overlooked. A perfect example of how women's views are just pushed to the side. Marrying her is a huge career move for Hamilton. It gives him the social status and legitimacy he desperately needs to get ahead. This makes his promise to never make her feel helpless deeply ironic, because the marriage itself is a strategic move for his ambition. Then, and that would be enough, she basically offers him an alternative. She presents a completely different idea of a successful life, one that isn't about history books, but about just being together. She's telling him he is enough just as he is, but he can't accept that. This is his fatal flaw. He immediately pivots the conversation to his son's future, revealing his default. He's always focused on the legacy he'll leave behind, not the love that's right in front of him. This happens in the song Stay Alive. Eliza narrates their struggles, but her voice is very quickly forgotten as the song moves on, a subtle way to show how women's essential work of just holding everything together gets erased from history. Hamilton's transactional view of relationships finally blows up in his face with Maria Reynolds. This is the moment his inability to control his personal impulses directly threatens his public life. Say no to this shows exactly how this happened. Maria is in a terrible situation, but she's also part of a blackmail plot, which, oh my gosh, what was it, $1,000? Hold on. Listen. I understand Hamilton's sake for wanting to protect his legacy, but he paid Maria Reynolds and her husband $1,300 in 1792, right? Today, that is $43,000. $43,871.75. I would have just told my wife. Sorry, I understand how important his political legacy is. 44,000 bands? Sorry. Hamilton's personal desires are being used as a weapon against him and his money. The affair is a massive character failure, and he knows it. It's the first thing that truly threatens the public legacy he's obsessed with building. It's the ultimate proof that he was wrong. He can't keep his personal life and his political life separate. He gets backed into a corner, and in a desperate move to save his political reputation, he decides to publish the Reynolds pamphlet. The cut song Congratulations, which I love, is where Angelica destroys him for this. She points out exactly what he did. He threw away his family's dignity, and especially Eliza's, under the bus just to save his career. It exposes how selfish and broken his idea of honor really is. Angelica makes it clear that for all his talk about legacy, he has personally destroyed the most important relationship in his life. The musical's ultimate argument is that you don't control your own legacy. The people who survive you do. And Eliza seizes that power in an incredible act of both defiance and grace. Her reaction in Burn isn't just the sound of a heartbroken wife. It's a conscious choice to take back her own story. By burning the letters, she is actively erasing part of Hamilton's legacy. She's denying him control over her voice and removing herself from the narrative he tried to force on her. But then, after the ultimate tragedy of their son's death, she is the one who starts the healing in It's Quiet Uptown. Her forgiveness isn't just weakness. It's an act of profound strength that allows their family and Hamilton's entire story to move forward. Even Hamilton understands this at the very end. His quiet personal goodbye in Best of Wives and Best of Women isn't an act for history. It's a final moment of legacy just for Eliza. In the end, she's the one who tells the story. She founded the orphanage, preserves his writing, and secures his place in history. Her actions are the show's final answer. A legacy built on ambition alone will crumble, but one redeemed by love and forgiveness can last. Conclusion. Hamilton's fatal flaw. Overall, Hamilton makes it clear you cannot separate legacy, politics, and relationships. They aren't three different themes. They're one single, tangled theme that is the engine for Hamilton's entire tragedy. The musical's core argument that being obsessed with your public legacy and fighting for it in the messy arena of politics is a guaranteed way to self-destruct if you forget that your relationships are what actually define you. This show uses this idea to explore a single truth. In the end, your driving ambition and your identity aren't judged by the cabinet battles you win. They're judged by the permanent mark you leave behind on people you love, the people you betray, and the people you leave behind. The entire musical is driven by Hamilton's deep psychological need for a legacy. This isn't just regular ambition. It's a direct reaction to his core identity as a bastard orphan and son of a whore. He has this relentless hunger to write himself into the history books that were designed to exclude someone like him. Because of this, his personal need to be remembered becomes impossible to separate from his public need to build a new nation. Politics are the only arena where he can do both, and the musical shows this arena as a brutal, high-stakes performance where you must take action. This is exactly why Aaron Burr is such a powerful cautionary tale. Burr's whole philosophy of talk less, smile more isn't shown as a smart strategy for survival. It's a slow-acting poison. His refusal to take his stand makes him powerless, and, in the end, ideologically empty. It's why he gets left out in the room where it happens. The show's judgment is clear. When a new nation is being forged in constant conflict, refusing to jump isn't a safe bet. It's a political death sentence that leaves you with no story to tell. However, the musical's most profound argument is that the true teller of one's life is not kept in those cabinet rooms or on that battlefield, but within the intimate circle of personal relationships. An arena Hamilton tragically undervalues. He views his connections to the Schuyler sisters strategically. Angelica is an intellectual equal he cannot have, and his marriage to Eliza grants him the social standing that he craves. He insistently rejects Eliza's offer of an alternative legacy, one defined not by glory but by presence. As articulated in her plea, that would be enough. His inability to see relationships as anything more than a means to an end becomes his greatest vulnerability. The affair with Maria Reynolds is not just a personal failing, but a political catastrophe, a direct result of his neglect of his own private world. It is the crack in his carefully constructed armor, proving that legacy is fragile and that his personal and public honor are inseparable. In the end, Hamilton delivers its final powerful judgment on legacy by taking control of it away from Hamilton and giving it to the women he affected. Angelica, with her sacrifice unsatisfied and her absolute fury in congratulations, acts as this story's moral and intellectual guide. She understands sacrifice in a way that Hamilton, with all of his ambition, never could. But it's Eliza who truly embodies the musical's ultimate theme. After Hamilton's obsession destroys her family and leads to his own death, she is the one left to decide what his life actually meant. Her act of defiance in Burn, where she destroys his letters, is her first step, a powerful moment where she reclaims her own story by erasing herself from his. And yet, it's her incredible grace in It's Quiet Uptown and her unstoppable work in Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Her Story that saves his legacy from being defined only by his worst mistakes. The musical's conclusion is clear. You do not get to control your own narrative. After a lifetime spent frantically writing his way into history, Hamilton's legacy is ultimately curated, redeemed, and given its meaning by the deliberate, loving actions of the women he left behind. So, that's the video. It's a little shorter than the other ones, but my favorite part of the video that we have to include is the ranking of all of the songs. And Hamilton has a lot of songs. Every single song was so fun to listen to, especially so fun to watch. And including the cut songs, there are 56 of them. Now, I want to be really clear. In other analysis, I kind of ranked my favorite songs. This time, I wanted to rank it based on thematic analysis and how each song functions within the core themes of legacy, politics, and relationships. So, mostly because every single time I listen to Hamilton, my favorite changes. So I want to rank this based on which songs carry the most narrative weight. If you guys don't like this, want me to do based on my personal ranking, let me know. I did do a little of my personal in here, but I really wanted to mostly do thematic analysis. If you guys would rather hear my favorites, let me know. It just changes every time I listen to Hamilton. So here's the complete ranking, starting from the least thematically important to the most, starting with No John Trumbull, I Know Him, The Story of Tonight Reprise, A Winter's Ball, Valley Forge, 10 Things, One Thing, The Adams Administration, I Have This Friend, Let It Go, Cabinet Battle 3, Cabinet Battle 2, Cabinet Battle 1, Your Obedient Servant, 10 Dual Commandments, Stay Alive, Meet Me Inside, The Story of Tonight, Aaron Burr, Sir, Farmer Refuted, What Comes Next, Tomorrow There'll Be No More of Us, or Lauren's Interlude, This One's Mine, Skylar Defeated, Guns and Ships, We Know, You'll Be Back, Best of Wives and Best of Women, Alexander Hamilton, Say No to This, Blow Us All Away, The Reynolds Pamphlet, Dear Theodosia, Burr's Reprise, Stay Alive Reprise, What I'd Miss, Washington on Your Side, Congratulations, The World Was Wide Enough, The Election of 1800, Hurricane, Take a Break, Dear Theodosia, Helpless, That Would Be Enough, Right Hand Man, Yorktown, The World Turned Upside Down, History Has Its Eyes on You, My Shot, Schuyler Sisters, Nonstop, It's Quiet Uptown, Burn, The Room Where It Happens, Wait for It, Satisfied, Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story, and One Last Time. So yeah, there's my ranking. There's the video. Like I said, this one's a little shorter than the other videos. I also wanted to try something a little different. Instead of going through summaries, I didn't want to do a plot summary. I didn't want to do a song summary. I wanted to strictly focus on analysis. I really hope you guys liked it. I mentioned a lot about commenting. Please comment. What is your number one Hamilton song? What song on my list do you think was wrong? Do you agree with my analysis? Do you disagree with my analysis? Do you have anything you want to say? What do you want to see me cover next? I will cover anything I am knowledgeable about. Y'all, this list is extensive. I think a series of unfortunate events is on my list. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please drop your own rankings. Please give me your opinions in the comments below. What else? If you like this analysis, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. It means a lot. We are almost at 200 subscribers, which is so overwhelming to me. Once I hit 200, I'm gonna either donate to a charity or I'll do something. I don't know. Something special to be 200, and we'll continue it on till I reach the next milestone. Thank you guys so much for watching and for joining me. I will have another video out soon. I don't know how soon. I'm kind of trying to aim to get another video out before before Wicked comes out, like the movie comes out in theaters. At least one other video before then. And yeah, I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye-bye!